Welcome back, viewers, for this In Conversation with Dr. Raja Amarnath episodes. A couple of episodes already over. Those who have not watched, please visit Sea Change Online and Sipaka. Both are YouTube channels of two different organizations where you can watch the previous episodes. Welcome, Dr. Raja Amarnath. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Dr. Raja, I must first congratulate you and congratulations to the team of doctors and professionals who are working with the Sipaka, your organization, who have prepared and released managing COVID in ICU. Create that kind of new concept which you created, documented. I think the second edition has been recently released by your organization. Congratulations to you. Hearty wishes to each and every one of you.
Thank you.
So, viewers, for the benefit of you and various hospitals who are located across the country, across the world, take this opportunity to download these two editions, wonderfully crafted by the team of experts from Sipaka, headed by Dr. Raja Amarnath, which is available at sipaka.com, CIPACA.com, which is a website. The moment you click to this website, it will automatically pops up in your screen and you can download these two editions, which is available for public consumption, and essentially it's useful for all the ICU, the hospitals who have ICUs. Wonderful guidelines Sipaka has produced. In fact, they are actually creating the third edition also. Very soon I think it will be released for the public consumption. So with that note, I would like to start my questions to Dr. Raja Amarnath in this episode. Thank you very much for every viewer. We have received several clarifications, questions to be asked with Dr. Raja Amarnath. So let me start with a few questions for this episode. Dr. Raja, there are a lot of questions. I've chosen about 4 questions for the coming episodes. One is, what is known as herd immunity and how does it happen?
Herd immunity is a word used when you talk about immunity of the entire population per se. Herd means a population, no? Group of people. In immunity, there is
Correct.
something called as innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity means the immunity that is already there in the system. For example, for any bacterial infection, we have immunity built up in the body. So there are white blood cells, different types of white blood cells, and also certain mediators which are released by white blood cells. We call them in medical language interleukins, tumor necrosis factor, and things like that. There are many such things. They are all protein molecules, and some of the proteins will have some lipid element also. They are called lipoproteins. These are the first level of defense materials in the event of viral attacks. So what happens is, when you have any organism coming in, so there is a defense attack by the body which takes care of it. This is called innate immunity. Apart from that, there is something called as acquired immunity. So when you are exposed to a virus during the course of the battle, the human organism also gets affected. That is why you get fever and other symptoms of the disease. Over a period of time, it gets limited. So it's called self-limiting diseases. Some of the viral infections are self-limiting. Most of the common cold, flu, they are all self-limiting problems. You don't treat them as such. What you give is only a symptomatic relief. In 1 week to 10 days time, they will slowly, body will get over it. During this course of time, body tries to evolve an immune defense mechanism to that strain of virus. This is called acquired immunity. So if the same strain of virus comes next time, body will not suffer the same way it suffered before. Even that element of fever or few days of symptomatology will not be there next time. This is called acquired immunity. When it becomes acquired immunity is acquired by the whole population, then it is called herd immunity. So what happens is, entire population is now they have the immunity against that particular strain of the virus. So, in the case of current COVID also, why we are talking about herd immunity is because when youngsters or people with good immune defense mechanisms, they get exposed to this virus, over a period of time they start developing the immunity to the virus. So, virus loses its virulence against such people. That is why it is very important in the case of epidemics and pandemics for the herd immunity to develop. So, this is how the mechanism goes.
Okay.
Yeah. I tried to put this content in very non-medical terms.
I understand.
Because you said last time that viewers are mostly from non-medical background.
Yes.
And I try to make myself more on non-medical grounds, try to explain to common people.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the idea is, as Dr. Raja Amarnath said, we wanted to take the medical aspects of COVID or anything related to health. In this series of episodes, we wanted to bring it down to a common man so that he can understand pretty much very well. And at least, one is the learning of some information on the health. Two is how we can go back and, exercise it. So to that extent, Dr. Raja is kind enough to share aspects in a very simpler way. Thank you very much, Dr. Raja, for understanding this idea behind. With that, I would like to go to the second question, which is about your organization. You being the head of pulmonology, and you have your own organization called SIPACA, where you are offering ICU services for the rural Indians in different places in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, also expanding to various states as well. So the question comes to you is that what is the role of SIPACA in this fight against COVID-19?
In our case, we don't need to define the role because it is defined by the problem itself. Because our teams, they are people from ICU and emergency background. They are all doctors, nurses, patient counselors and admin people. Our main job is to run emergency and ICU units in rural area hospitals. We have been doing it for a couple of years' time. Now, when the new problem has occurred, even the government said you cannot stop emergency and ICU services, which are most essential services, which will go on. So by default, we have to be there in the front line to fight the current situation. All our people have been very well trained to battle these issues even before, and that is why we have been getting very good feedbacks and acclaims from the rural communities, that just by being there on time, so at the footsteps of the rural areas, we are able to serve the required healthcare services to the rural public within the golden hour is what we call as. Now, during this COVID situation, all that we required was to take the new steps to safeguard our own healthcare professionals. So we just required PPEs, positive, that is the protective personal protective equipment for our own people, and also little bit of extra equipment like monitors and ventilators to cater the increased demand. One peculiar thing we faced during this last couple of months is, in rural areas the testing facilities are not available for COVID, most of the places. There are only some designated government facilities. There also they are only testing only in selected cases, they were doing like that. So we did not know, out of all the patients who were presenting to the emergency, we did not know who really had COVID and who did not have. So, only thing we did was to become aware of it and be vigilant for every single patient. We said universal precautions, which means consider every single emergency patient, whether it is a respiratory problem, whether they come with COVID problems or not. If somebody comes with a COVID symptomatology, you treat them as if it is a COVID related ICU problem. If that area government dictates you manage, we manage. If government said you have to refer to such and such place, we refer there. Whereas the people coming with other problems rather than the respiratory systems or COVID classified symptoms, let us say something like abdominal emergencies, heart related emergencies or brain related emergencies, we did receive those patients and managed them accordingly, but there is a definite possibility that these patients could be incubating the infection in their throats. It's a possibility. So, our people took utmost care so that they serve the patient, they nurse the patient, they treat the patients. Also, they took their own precautions so that they don't get affected. This is the only required
Correct.
shift in our way of approach which was required for us. Apart from that, we were doing okay.
That's really good. Connected to this this answer, what you said now, especially in the rural part of India where you are pretty much available to support the patients and people in general. There is a social question I would like to ask you for me to understand how people have really understood the COVID situation. The question is the same. Are these people who are there in rural India where your hospital, your services are located more than 10 locations, are they really aware of the seriousness of COVID in your opinion?
They are aware of the seriousness, yes, definitely. But they may not know what are the things that are definitely to be avoided and what are the things that they definitely should do. I mean to say that the proper information probably did not reach the bottom lines of the rural population. They know, they are aware that there is some viral infection which is spreading and we need to be following the social distancing and usage of masks and hand wash techniques, things like that. I think they are all aware of it, but the discipline, as probably this is a basic human nature, in the times of crisis usually you lose discipline. And I have seen people, probably it's a human tendency, I don't know, I don't want to make a negative comment on it, but especially when the crisis comes, people tend to fight, asking for a better attention only for themselves, not thinking of others. For example, if you have two patients coming to you, both are sick and you cannot attend to everybody at once, no? There is something called triaging in emergency medicine. You tend to attend to a patient who is extremely sick and who requires your attention immediately. That time what happens, you are attending to one person who is more sicker than the other person. That is where usually the attenders get agitated, saying why you are not attending to my patient, okay, my relative also is sick. That is when most of the problems arise. And even that small difference of timing, if something goes wrong at the end, even it would have gone the same way even if you had attended, okay. That is where people make negative remarks on the healthcare system and all the current problems on agitations, manhandling medical people, ransacking the hospitals, all are because of this. When you say that there is this corona infection and the COVID infection can spread and your patient is having some sort of let us say some emergency situation, and we are there to serve and then support and then treat your patient, but cannot allow all the relatives at once. In cities, maybe it is possible
Correct.
to educate them and keep that distance. In rural areas, this is where we find it extremely difficult. People,
But when it comes to crisis situation, I think if I'm right, whether it rich or poor, urban or rural, literate or illiterate, people behave only the same way. So even in Chennai, we could see some places where people behave like as if they don't know anything, as if they don't know the seriousness of the issue. So this is quite common, as you rightly said. When the crisis comes, people are the behavior reveals, which means I think it is also over the time what has been suppressed in their mind or in their system. It comes out when the typical problem arises out. I think it's a human behavior. I'll go to the next question, sir. Of course, I'm more like to ask you on the health aspects of the public and our viewers. See, the post-lockdown, we are all talking about the lockdown 1, lockdown 2, version 2, lockdown version 3 is now going on, which means 17th of May, supposedly, we are all going to be out of our lockdown scenario. So, I mean, currently we are discussing in the second week of May. So hardly another week or so, we are all going to be out of our homes and get into our normal routine. In fact, in the earlier episodes also we discussed this. The question came to me from one of our viewers, which is what I'm going to ask you, is that after the, once the post lockdown happened, which is the, lockdown is lifted, all of us are going to be following certain new normal, which all of us are talking about, social distancing, sanitizer and all that. What kind of support system CIPACA would like to offer for organizations, factories, industries, business establishments, retail outlets? There are multiple business segments. Is there any special support system which you would like to offer from CIPACA as a guideline to them?
thank you for bringing up this question, Mr. Anand, because this is something which has been asked by many people before also. See, we are running our operations in rural areas. In almost all those areas, there are medium and small enterprises. I know very well that you are the chairman for MSME in Andhra Chamber of Commerce, and probably that is the reason why you asked this question today. So many MSME people, MSME owners, many people have asked precisely this question to us in our rural areas. They visited our ICUs, they met our doctors over there, and then they were asking, doctor, can you spare some of the healthcare professionals for us to guide us in the running of our business after the lockdown is over, because they are aware that we were the people in those areas silently operating without shutting down our units, silently operating our services. Almost most of the hospitals have been asked to close to prevent the coronavirus spread. So we were actually continuing our services, being ICU and emergency departments. So they met us. That is when we started working on this. Not today, almost for 1 month we have been working on this. We have been gathering the information from all the international clinical societies, also incorporating knowledge from Indian bodies, medical healthcare related, and also the administrative authorities. And there are a team of doctors and nurses and other people are currently working to formulate certain protocols and certain guidelines for the organizations. Wherever there are more than, for example, 20 people are joining together to work in the future days. So whatever the precautions we need to take should start from homes of the employees. We need to check with their their relatives, whoever is living in the home, their family members, okay, and then the pathway of their travel, and then where they are going to report, how they are going to enter the workplace, including the lifts, internal inside the organization and inside the company, how they are moving, where they are going to eat, where they are going to stay, all these things they matter. If we want to cut down the spread of the problem in future times, and also we want to cut down the any financial loss of workforce and loss of any financial the financial aspects of the organization. So, all these things we are keeping in mind, and we have been working on it. To begin with, we have released a document on current update for the ICU personnel, whereas actually this has been acclaimed by many medical people, saying that even the non-medical people should read certain chapters in it, especially on preventive aspects as well as dietary aspects of the document. We are also planning to release this to the common public for their use. So, especially for the organizations what you were talking about, we are going to give them, number one, hand holding on the knowledge aspect. So, we would like to educate people. There is no point in educating one person, because whatever said and done, COVID has come. It is my personal feeling that the COVID has come to discipline each and every human being. I hope you agree with me on this.
Absolutely, sir. Very much, very much.
It has come to discipline all of us on many factors. So, when you talk about discipline, it comes only by giving knowledge.
Correct.
Because you can be disciplined from inside only when you know clearly the side effects or the negative outcomes of not doing something, and positive outcomes, rewards of doing something, and the punishments of doing something. Okay? When you know that, automatically discipline will be from inside, self discipline will come into place. So, for us what we thought of was a continuous education to people on do's and don'ts is what is going to be the most important thing, which should percolate down to even the bottommost line of employees, even the lift boys, even the housekeeping people, even those who are working in let us say the cleaners and drivers of the buses, for example. Every single person must be first completely educated, and this education should happen over and over and over again. It should be a continuous process. Only then I think there will be a self discipline, and apart from that there should be a checklist always, because you need to know whether this person is following it or not. So, we are coming out with certain checklists, wherein every week suppose you go through the checklist based on some numbers and then some rankings, and based on certain parameters, we will be able to find out at risk people, and these people must be informed to the management very cautiously, saying that these group of people are at risk, and so that they will follow the better level of quarantine even in the workplace from the beginning itself. Let us say you have a group of people where you can't keep them at 6 feet or 10 feet distance all the time. They need to work around a machinery, and God forbid if one of them falls out of the system and then he contracts some infection, by the time you identify, all the 6 would have they got exposed to the infection, and now you have to quarantine all 6 people. Your machinery is at stake for next let us say 2 to 3 weeks time. You can't operate that machinery. That is what is going to happen, for what is going to be the most important, if at all, most important area of workforce loss or manpower loss or financial loss for any MSME in due course of time. To attend to it, what needs to be done is, there must be either they should have on their own a third party who is supervising on all these things, or they should ask someone else to do it for them, where a checklist should go on process every time, identify people at risk, immediately segregate them, test them, If it is going to be positive, then immediately isolate them. So maybe for the next 6 months to 1 year, this is going to be the norm. So for which we are going to
Okay.
come out with certain guidelines and certain processes to help to the people who are in need for us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your elaborative information, because this is quite useful for all the entrepreneurs, business owners, organizations everywhere across the country. And to add additional input to all the viewers of this episode is, I am very glad to share that Dr. Raja Amarnath and his team from Sipaka has started extending their support to Sea Change, where I have requested them to give us a free guideline support system for all the business houses, business organizations, especially the large organizations where more than 20-30 people are working. Of course, even a small outlet, 3 or 5 people are working, also requires this support system. But anyway, they know. But once a large number of people working in the organization, then everybody have to be educated. In fact, all of us know that we have something called learning and development in organizations, L&D, as part of HR system, where the L&D teaches soft skills and technical skills for the employees. But today, next 1 year, the education is more towards health and safety. In that context, Sipaka is kind enough to support the MSME fraternity. Since I come from, I represent MSME subcommittee of Andhra Chamber of Commerce, I thought I will take this support system from Sipaka to the MSME community at large across this country as far as possible. So, in fact, the document has been well crafted by Sipaka, and it's been uploaded online. The entire information is available in the description in the YouTube channel. You can just go and there is a link called free download. You can download the document and then you start reading it out and then start implementing it. As Dr. Raja beautifully said in this conversation, in fact, the HR role, one of the important roles of HR is to establish a proper service register for all the employees with respect to their health. In fact, I was talking to one of the large software entity having 1,300 employees. The HR now started talking to their employees through various digital communication to capture their current health status. How many of them have cold? How many of them have the regular fever or headache or unhealthy stuff? They wanted to actually categorize people on their health aspect and then start giving them counseling, connect to the doctor and try to improve upon. So these are the support system which Sipaka, Dr. Raja's organization is willing to do. Many of the services they would like to do as a free service. I really appreciate Dr. Raja sir and that entire team of Sipaka, professionals, doctors who are doing unconditional support. And I'm sure this message of yours today would help more and more people to get benefited. And we will end this episode with these questions, because Dr. Raja has also has many meetings to going on, but he's attending so many webinars and visiting hospitals and all that. So I don't want to take much of his time for the current episode. We will come back to you with more and more education series on health aspect in conversation with Dr. Raja Amarnath very soon. Thank you very much for watching. Kindly take this video to share it across your network, in your society, in your friends and business houses, so that they also get benefited. Thank you very much, Dr. Raja, for your time and your wealth of knowledge to share it with all our viewers.
Thank you. Thank you, Anand, also for your initiative. I actually thought this is also some other regular interviews where people ask some healthcare related questions and we try to answer them. Whereas the way you are taking this, I can now sense that it is not just for common public on some health gnan. It is more of you are taking it, probably being the chairman of MSME of Andhra Chamber of Commerce. I think you are slowly guiding us towards helping your own organizations. I can now sense that. I appreciate that also, because I also know what is the economic crisis that we are currently facing.
Yes.
Our country
Yes.
is facing. And
Yes.
I have been told by several people that in one way the current economic crisis, whatever we are going through right now, will end soon and India will emerge as a superpower. Do you think that
Oh,
is
wonderful.
now I will ask you a question. Is that
Yeah.
is that true, Mr. Anand? I mean, is India going to become a superpower?
Sir, thank you very much for the compliment you give it to our chamber and our MSME subcommittee. I'm really honored. We are all volunteers. And since you touched upon this topic for the benefit of the viewers and every one of Indians here to know that we means MSME sector is the second largest employment providers of this country. First being the agriculture sector. You know how many people MSME provides job opportunity? 114 million people are employed.
Wow.
And 114 million people into, let us say, 3 people or 4 people in each family. Imagine the kind of employment opportunity and livelihood being provided by this sector. In my estimation, if I'm right, 40 crore Indians are dependent on livelihood based on MSME's growth. And we have 75 million MSMEs in the country. And which means it is one of the largest organized sector in the world. Obviously, after this corona, MSMEs have their own challenges. We all have our own challenges in terms of our economic situation, but we strongly believe we will be the torch bearers, we will be the movers and shakers of Indian economy in the future to come. In 2005, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam delivered a beautiful talk in New Delhi, and he talked much about MSME's growth and development. I have a separate episode to discuss about Dr. APJ's voice on MSMEs in 2005. And we are the national builders, and we are the largest job creators, and we are the biggest contributors of Indian GDP. So, thank you very much, Dr. Raja, for sharing your thought process on MSME. I'm sure we all can collectively work together to build this country as ever before. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you, viewers. Thank you.
Whatever, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Anand. I really got motivated by whatever you said just now. You said 40 crore Indians are dependent on MSMEs. Am I correct? Is
Yes.
this sentence correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's my estimation. Yes.
Great. So Sipaka is ready to give whatever the knowledge, whatever the support as far as healthcare related support, knowledge, support systems, our think tank, also to manage the current crisis of corona, especially for MSMEs to come out of this crisis. And we want all the MSMEs to come out of this crisis as fast as possible and emerge as superpowers. Like somebody said, India will become a superpower. Like that, we want all the MSMEs to shine brightly from this. Darkness will not be there forever. As somebody said, darkness is always followed by light.
Absolutely.
So we hope for the light, and we are there to support in whatever the way you ask us to do in our own capacity to support the MSMEs. And thank you so much for the opportunity given.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Raja Amarnath. Thank you, viewers. We will come back to you with more episodes down the line. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.